Guys, wanted to do a quick tutorial on tempo mapping. I have a song here that is by a band called Deftones. It's called Passenger. The record that it is on, White Pony, was not recorded to a click. So everything is a little loose. It sounds great. It was well recorded. That's kind of a signature Deftones thing. But I have a band interested in doing a cover of this song, so we kind of need to figure out the tempos and then how to get it a little more consistent for recording purposes the way we're going to do it, which is, a little bit tighter to the grid, a little more modern, that type of thing. So this is the finished product of the song, and I'm going to show you how I got here. Blank screen. This is where we start. There's nothing here. So we're going to do step-by-step. Deftones pass in. Don't worry, guys. I own the record. So first things first, this song has a long intro in it. It just kind of goes on forever. We don't really care about the intro as much as we do figuring out right here where the song starts. You see it's like a kick hit there. There's a little bit of a snare hit in front of it. So I'm going to turn my snap off, click it there, or Option S, but I'm going to get right in there, S for split, get rid of this first section. I'm going to scroll back out, move this down to the 1 bar. That's where I want it to start. We could start later on in the song, but we're just going to focus on this section for right now. And I'm only, for the tutorial anyway, I'm only going to go through somewhere right in here. So yeah, we're going to split it there too and delete this. The process works for the whole song. The reason we're going this far is there is a drastic tempo change in this section. So we're gonna tempo map the whole thing. First thing we have to do, though, is if we try to alter tempos at all, Reaper will time stretch the files that we have laid out. And that's what we don't want to start with. So first thing I'm going to do is go to File and Project Settings. I'm going to change this over to time. By changing it to time, that's going to keep shifting things around from stretching the items on the screen. That's what Reaper calls regions, is items. So it's going to keep that from getting stretched. So we'll start there, leaving that set for time. Our tempo is by default 120. That's fine for now. I'm going to right click in this area, show master track. The reason I want that master track is I want to open up this envelope, the tempo map. I just want to be able to see what I'm doing here. So that's all. We got the master track, got our tempo envelope. I'm going to hit the W key, go all the way back to the beginning of the project. Now, first thing we have to do is drop markers on every downbeat. If you don't know what a downbeat is, it's the 1 whenever you're counting all the way around. I know the song's in 4/4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Every time I count 1, I'm going to drop a marker. So you're just playing along with the band with the marker key. The marker key is the M button. Just hit it. It's easy. So let's start. Cool. All right, so now we have markers. You can kind of imagine these markers as your measures. So we've dropped a marker for every measure of the song thus far. The reason that's important is because a couple of shortcuts that I've set up are going to manipulate this for us. So first thing we're going to do, select, make sure that your item here is selected. And we're going to do Control Shift. Well, I should probably explain that because this is a custom key command that I've set up. And it is, so if I type in split marker, you'll see this description come up. Items, split items at project markers. Okay, so that's going to take this item and split it at every single marker that we put in there. You will see why this is important later on. So this is the first key command you need to probably set, or you can just find it in the item menu. That works as well. So I've got this set to Control Shift T, Control Shift S, not T. I don't know what I was thinking. So now this is split for every single measure or marker that we dropped. Now we have another custom key command that I've set up that is going to change our tempo for us. I'm going to go to Action, Show Action List. Shift T, I have set to a custom macro. The macro I call Tempo Map. Let me show you what that macro is. So down here you can create custom actions. If you don't have one, you can click New and put these particular commands in it. Time selection. Set time selection to items. Okay, that's going to encapsulate each item with your time selection. Then it's going to create a measure from time selection and detect tempo. So it's going to take each measure and detect how long that measure is and throw it into our tempo map here, which you'll see in just a second. And then it's going to move on to the next item so that we can just quickly buzz right through this as long as we don't have any signature changes, which I'll go over later. That's not important right now. So that's your macro or custom action, as Reaper calls it. I'm going to click OK and close. Now watch this. I've got it set to Shift T. It changes my tempo here and then moves to the next item. So I simply go through each and every one, and the tempo changes and the measures change perfectly to match exactly what we have laid out here. So I'm going to delete this last little section here. I don't need it. Now we've got all this set up. We've got a bunch of splits in this. We've got our tempo changes laid out. What now? Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is go to View, and there's a shortcut for this, but I don't remember it. So Region Marker Manager. I'm going to grab all my markers because I don't need them anymore. I just needed them for that particular action. I'm going to delete them. Okay. Now, so that we can kind of stretch this back to a tempo that is more consistent. You can see how inconsistent the tempo is on this song. So it just is kind of all over the place. Now, it's bouncing around the 119 to 123 mark most of the time. But a 5 BPM difference, that can wreak havoc on, say, an analog delay processor. So we don't really want that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to insert a new track. And we're just going to label this click. I'm going to make my time selection all the way across the song, and we're going to insert click source. Now this click track is going to follow this tempo map perfectly. So I'm going to turn down the song so you can hear the click, and you'll see what I'm saying. Okay, pretty close. Now, before I did that last step, I could have gone through and tweaked those markers around to get them just perfectly in time. Yeah, this is a tutorial. I don't need to do that. Plus, this is literally just a guide track for a cover. So that would be a little excessive for this. Now, if I had live pre-pro that was not cut to a click and I was trying to get it very precise, I probably would have recorded it at a higher sample rate to make time stretching work better, and then been a little more meticulous about where my measures and my downbeats were. So not that big of a deal for this. So we've got a click source. We can see it here. Now we want to change this, but if we change it now, nothing will happen to this audio. It will stay in the same place. What we want to have happen now is that all these little clips, all these little items get stretched to whatever we change this tempo to. So we're going to keep it, fairly in the zone of the original song, but we're going to make it more consistent. Now we're going to go back to File, Project Settings. This little thing that we changed earlier so that it wouldn't stretch, we're going to change it back to beats, which is position length rate. Now it will stretch as we change the tempo, which is good now. So we're going to, well, that was the wrong button. We're going to marquee over all of these tempo changes here and just delete them. I know, because I've already done this one time, that this needs to be set to about 122. So right now it's 122.179. We're just going to go all the way back to the beginning and change it to 122. I also know that where the slowdown is here, this should change to somewhere around 114. So I'm going to delete those and that one because that doesn't matter either. I'm going to turn my snap back on, Option S, and I'm going to zoom in right around here and get on this marker. I'm going to change this to 114. You will see that jump around. Now we're going to go back to over here. Probably change this back to not 114, but 122. There we go. So now what should have happened is this should be consistent. Nice. Okay. It's all in place. Yeah, is it a little garbled? Of course. This came from an MP3, but say this was, 88.2 recording, the time stretching, you would barely be able to hear it. So here's this slowdown we were talking about. Sounds great, and it's perfectly on time. We've got our pickup. Awesome. Okay, everything's great. Now what? Now I would probably render down this track. The easiest way to do this is to click Track, Render Tracks to Stereo. So now I've got this track selected, so that's the only one that's going to render. And so that's a stereo track. We want it to render to stereo and mute. It's going to do it really quickly. And there we have it. There is our stereo render. We can delete this track. And now we have our click and we have our track. So it's as simple as that. And now it should all play in time. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.